I was very lucky in my career. I was lucky I didn't go to jail.
Okay.
I got my first computer when I was 10. I
Yeah.
broke into my first military bank when I was 12.
So development has changed immensely over the years.
Yes.
We've both been in it for a while. When I started, it was certainly more primitive websites, and now the landscape of what you can do in development is huge. We've seen a real shift. How have you seen it change in terms of careers and the expectations now of what people can get into?
It's been, a lot more interesting. It's way more interesting than it used to be. It used to be you would get assigned a project and probably work on that for about 10, 20 years. But now it's so rapidly changing. Development has changed significantly through COVID, through restrictions, through online. It's actually made it more of an interesting job to get into now than anything. The kind of projects that you can get involved in, in just 1 year, you could start off in game development and end up in banking. You could start your year working with, in the gaming company, and then you could end up working on NFTs, in cryptocurrency. You never know where it's going to go. And I think that's quite interesting. Developers are naturally explorers. They're naturally curious and tinkering. So to have that kind of exciting career path is, yes, you're sitting behind a desk typing in code, but actually it's gotten a lot more interesting than it ever has been.
What sort of trends have you seen in terms of where people go? You obviously got like web development, software engineering, AI and machine learning. There's a whole spectrum of
probably one of the biggest trends is I've seen a real split between cybersecurity and the gaming industry. And actually, they're more closely linked than people realize. There's a lot of money in gaming, so there needs to be a lot of cybersecurity involved. But actually, when people get to those points in those jobs, they actually realize there are subsections of web development or software engineering that they didn't realize were opportunities to them. And I think one of the key things that a lot of young people are missing out on is to be made aware of these jobs. Because if they're not aware that these jobs exist, they're not going to aim for them. And that's a really important thing that they need to kind of be made aware of.
Yeah, sure. I think code now underlies everything that we touch day to day in terms of cars, even some of the new cars, the programs that we're using on our computers, our phones, everything that we interact with. Is there? Do you find that the younger generation have an expectation of where they're going to go, or do?
Yeah, I think they have ideas, and it's usually based around the things they consume. So if they're made aware of the things, of the jobs through the things they consume, so if they're very much into video games, they're going to go down that route. If they're very much into like videos and that kind of thing, they're going to be interested in more software development, that kind of stuff. It's whatever they're aware of, they're going to be kind of geared towards. And I think what we do at the Creative Computing Club is we make them aware of a wide variety of different career paths available to them. In terms of, where do our kids want to go? There are kids who want to be YouTube stars. There are kids who want to, work on, Fortnite in the future. They want to build their own Roblox game, all these different things. You can clearly see it's what they consume is what they want to be doing. And that's really interesting. But I think they need to be aware of just how much goes into that YouTuber's content. Just all the marketing, all the web development behind it, all the software, all the team that surround that person. If they were aware of that, they might actually be thinking, well, actually, I don't want to be the guy in front of the camera, because it's quite nerve-wracking being in front of the camera. I want to be that guy, who runs around and does all the research for that project. I want to do that. So it's just about making people aware of the massive, things that go into all this tech. And tech is embedded in everything, and that makes tech even more interesting than anything right now. I mean, it's involved in everything. How did I get here? Out here, I use tech. I use the phone. I use my car. It's an electric car. It runs on software. That's how I got here. It's embedded in everything. And once you have an insight into how tech works, just a basic insight, it really empowers somebody. It really empowers them to be able to make things and then start to change things and make the world better through the things that they're making. So if there is if there is a direction that our kids are going in, it's whatever they consume is generally where they want to go.
Yeah, I see. It has become a digital world out there.
Yes.
Everything you do now. What was the inspiration for starting? You touched on it early, Creative Computing Club, and where did that come from?
I was very lucky in my career. I was lucky I didn't go to jail.
Okay.
I got my first computer when I was 10.
Yeah.
I broke into my first military bank when I was 12.
Wow.
Yeah, it's Zweibrück in it's Kreuzberg, West Germany. And I was stuck in a computer lab on the Army and Air Force bases while my dad was at work to keep an eye on me. But I realized just how much fun technology was. I then worked for tons of different tech companies. I won't go through them, but pretty much everybody under the sun. Worked for tons of different government departments, from Parliament, Cabinet Office, Foreign Office, all those. And I was really, really lucky in my career. And I realized that the kids behind me might not have that luck. I raised in Suffolk. I was fortunate to be, traveled all around the world with my stepdad.
Yeah.
But I don't think the kids behind me were going to have that luck or that insight into how the wider world is. So I thought, I'm going to quit my incredibly well-paid job with government, and I'm going to build this little after-school club to teach kids about technology, robotics, electronics, web design, software development, AR, VR, everything that was relevant. The key goal of it was to put the current world, in context for young people.
Okay.
So they could understand actually what is happening in technology right now, not learn legacy stuff that may help you get a junior position, but able to hit that job right away, hit the ground running right away. And it's, we're coming up to 10 years of it now. This crazy idea has gone on for 10 years, and it was just about giving them confidence, creating a community around development in Ipswich, and making them become quite compassionate people, make them aware of the skills they have and how they can use them to make the world a little bit better. And I love it. Sorry, I can talk about it forever. But it's the main goal was to make sure that those kids had a shot at getting involved in tech and didn't go down the wrong path.
Yeah. It's interesting. I fell into this industry and development, but the exposure I had at school, college was like crazy. It was using old Excel and Microsoft Access to create things that you would never use, and we weren't, the wider scope of it wasn't promoted. To give kids that opportunity is it's huge.
Well, when the Cambridge Analytica situation happened on Facebook, our kids were doing a course about personal data. Okay. And so that was perfectly timed. And we were able to sit there and watch the Judiciary Hearing Committee talk about what was going on with Facebook and see all the hearings, and then talk about it with our students, how that is going to affect them in the future, and how they need to behave and present themselves online, in terms of if they want to have a career in technology and just in general moral, good, upstanding people. But we want to take, if something happens in the news, if something happens like in Ukraine or Russia or wherever, and there's hacking going on, we want our kids to understand just what is happening with that tech, just what's going on with it, so they can kind of actually be a little bit more at ease with the world, be a bit more confident with what's going on. I think that's really, really important to kind of have that in place. And it's been a really, really interesting kind of 10 years, because we started with 10 kids in a Chantry library in the middle of nowhere, and we now work with hundreds of kids a week. And we've probably worked with about 10,000 kids across Suffolk over those 10 years. And now our kids are I call them kids, they're young adults, but they're my kids. They're now employed by Facebook. They're now employed by Google. They now work at Sony. They now work at Nintendo. They now work at Sumo Digital and all these big games companies. So it's a lovely alumni of people, and it shows these younger kids that actually you can do whatever you like in tech. If you have that ambition, you have that drive, you want to do it, just chip away at it every day, a little bit every day, and you'll get there. You can do anything you like.
Yeah, it's interesting what you say as well about how these young people are based in Ipswich, but you can now work for a huge American tech company.
Yes.
From Ipswich, if you want to.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of, COVID obviously was very, very hard for a lot of people across the world. But in terms of tech, it made the rest of the world catch up with like the gig economy, like the Fiverr industry. People working online to do small little jobs that contribute to a much bigger thing. I think the fact that the students who used to come to Computer Club who are now employed by these big tech companies, they love the fact that they can still live at home with their mum and dad and work for a big games company. Right now, it's what talent you have will allow you to work anywhere. That's the change. You don't have to go to London to work for a London company. You can stay at home, work for a London company, and it's very much the ball is very much in the employees' court at the moment. They have that power, because if they have that talent, they can work for anybody. It's not just, oh, I have to go and work for this company because I live here. It's I can go work for anybody. But the advantages that the business have now is that they can get the best talent in the world. That's yes, you might have to pay for it, but it will put your company miles ahead of the competition if you can get a hold of that talent. So that's what shifted. Your company is now competing with every other company, but that means you're also on the market to get all that extra new talent as well. So it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah. What do you think employers can do to attract more talent and those?
It's always been what I've said all along. Embed yourself with the local community. Make young people aware of what you're doing. Offer them, work experience. Offer them, in-house training, internships, apprenticeships, anything that you can do to make them aware. If they're not aware of you and what you do, why would they aim for you?
Yeah.
They are consuming stuff, and then they're aiming their careers at that stuff because they like it. If they're not aware of you, they might not, do guest lectures at local universities, go into the colleges, say, this is what we're doing, these are our clients, here's an interesting project that we did. Give them challenges, run competitions with the local community, saying, here's a case study of a client we dealt with in the past, this is how we tackled it, how would you tackle it? And, that empowers a lot of young people to be able to do the same work as a major company. That empowers so many young people to go, I want that.
Yeah.
We've sent a lot of our students out to local tech companies, and they were kind of humming and hawing about what they want to do. We sent this young lady out to a tech company in Ipswich, and she came back and she was like, I want that job.
Right, yeah.
And that was it. I want to work with those other women. Those are really, really cool ladies, and they run that company, and it's awesome, and I want everything they have. And and so she focused. That gave her focus, because she was now aware of what she could achieve with her life. If she chipped away at it every day, made her skill set a little bit bigger every day, she was focused. Make yourself aware, make the public aware of what you do, what you're going to offer them, and just get involved in the local community.
Do you think employers are doing enough in that respect from the ones that...
I think they've always relied on the fact that people will just fall out of university into their lap, and I think now they're falling out into the world because of online work. I think it used to be the case, we're going to get a kind of reasonable turnover of students because we've got a good university near us, so we're going to get a certain amount of people come to us. But actually now their horizons have been expanded, and they're aware of other opportunities around the world. So you have to be a bit more fierce. You have to go out and make sure you secure the best talent going forward. It's going to be a little bit more work, but it'll be much more worth it. You get one really talented person that could change your company.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. It's a matter of going out, talking to all the local universities, doing guest lectures, getting involved, and seeing what talent's out there, because some people just might not be aware that they want to do that job.
No, that's true.
Yeah. They might not know, actually, I didn't realize that you could build little apps for, Tesco's or this or whatever company. I didn't know you could go and do that. I thought that was all taken care of. I didn't realize that it was a local company handling this major brand. And once they're aware of that, they think, oh, cool, I'll go do that.
Yeah, no, it's interesting what you say. And even at Strategiq, with our development team, we've branched out across, we've got a team in the Midlands, a team in Suffolk as well. So we're able to, look at different talent pools for what we're doing in terms of developers.
And having a diverse workforce brings so much to the table. Yeah, so much different perspectives, even just on the way apps run, even from the north of England to the south of England. There's conversations that developers have about how it would run up north and how it would run down south. Hilarious, but it's important, especially when you're dealing with an app for a client that's going to go out across the entire, United Kingdom. So it's good to have those, that input from a wide range of sources. It's always really interesting to have that in place. Yeah.
How have you seen trends in terms of, this is more specific, but languages that people in development are learning, because they're rapidly changing. There's so many new ones every year, new frameworks.
I know about 35 languages.
How important do you think it is to specialise, or, can you dip in and out?
I would think it's good to specialise in about maybe 1 or 2 languages, but have a basic knowledge of about 4 or 5. Most of the kids we work with, by the end of their time with Creative Computing Club, they've gone through about 6 different languages.
Okay.
So we want them to have Python, we want them to have C#, we want them to have JavaScript, we want them to have PHP and MySQL. We want to have them all in place before they go off to A-levels. Because we want that experience, in place. But again, video games, C#.
Yeah.
App development, Python. That's the split. Cybersecurity, Python. If you're going to work in games, you're probably going to be using Unity or Unreal or something similar. You're going to be using C#.
Yeah.
Possibly C++. If you're doing hardware, but it's very much we kind of obviously we start with Scratch and we move on to processing, which is a JavaScript thing. But Python is really, really where it's at, and C#, and it helps a lot of people do a lot of different things. If you learn those languages, you have a good understanding of a Turing-complete language, and so you can do most things.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Do you find it hard to keep up with what to teach? And
we
follow the trends.
We're quite egalitarian in that we ask the students, what do you guys want to learn about? Is there anything exciting that you've seen that you want to learn about? And we have a little week's gap in between every course, and I run around frantically and put together a course based on that language. So I recently had to learn Godot, the programming development suite. I had to learn that in a course of a week, and that was fun. But once we've learned it, it adds to our curriculum of things that we can teach, and it keeps the lessons fresh, it keeps them interesting, because we're all learning together. I always say, I don't know everything about technology. There's no way I could.
No.
But I'm a facilitator, and I'm willing to learn a lot to help them learn.
Yeah.
And that just kind of helps them. When they see me coding in a language and I make a mistake, actually that kind of helps them, that reassures them, oh, everybody makes mistakes, and I make loads of mistakes. Just don't release it, that's the difference. We don't publish it. So it actually helps them kind of get a bit more confidence in their own development. But, we are seeing a trend towards, definitely Python for data science and cybersecurity and banking, and C# definitely for kind of Unreal and 3D development.
Okay.
So that's reassuring, because for a long time it was Scratch and GameMaker, and I was like, let's just push it up a little bit more, and let's get that, because banks like Goldman Sachs, they have their own proprietary version of Python.
Okay.
So theirs runs faster than everybody else's. That's why they're able to calculate things a lot quicker. You learn Python, you can go work for Goldman Sachs.
Yeah.
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 Simple as that. Learn C#, you can work for most games companies.
Yeah.
So it's really, really useful to kind of see it in that.
Do you find that people do that? They actually focus, they find the company they want to work for, and then focus on the language to get them to...
Yeah, no, I've got a student, and I'm thinking about him right now. He saw a company, he says, I'm going to work for that company.
Okay.
And this is when he was 13.
Yeah.
And now he's 18, and he's on a cohort at their kind of academy to work for them. And he can't be happier, because he loves the games they make. And another one of my students actually works there as well. So it's nice to have two of my students there, and they kind of know each other because they were in the same kind of grouping. So it's kids will go, I want to work there. And sometimes their ambitions are kind of, misaligned because of the media. A lot of kids say, I want to be a games tester. And I was like, you really don't. Like, that's a nightmare job. And games testing is kind of like dead. Well, it's not completely dead, but they can just release a beta and then scrape your data and then kind of grab all that later on. So it's you want to have something, you want to have a skill. The more skills you have, the more valuable you are, the more different, wide-ranging work that you can do. And it's I think development has just gotten so much more interesting over the last couple of years. And this whole crazy stuff about NFTs and stuff like that. And they're like, what's this stuff? And like, well, and explaining NFTs to parents is hilarious. I was like, well, it's a thing, but you don't really have it, but you can pay a lot of money for it if you want to. And it's an interesting world. That's why technology is so fascinating. You wake up in the morning, look on Twitter, go, oh, okay, I can drag that into my lesson. I can bring that into my lesson because that's relevant to the things we're talking about.
It is crazy. I find it hard to keep up myself. And, cryptocurrencies, NFTs now, and all of these things that just didn't exist like a few years ago. We've
got a lot of kids at Computer Club who actually trade cryptocurrencies.
Really?
And actually make quite a bit of money, make about $1,000 a month on it.
Nice.
And like everybody ridiculed this lad at the beginning because he had this janky old computer and he was mining Ethereum and Dogecoin. This is like 4 or 5 years ago. And I was like, oh, it's a waste of time. And then all of a sudden he bought this massive gaming rig, and it was like, how did he afford that? And then he bought like 6 others, and now he's got a whole garage of cryptocurrency, mining Ethereum, and he swaps it out for Bitcoin. And it's like, great, but don't hedge all your money on that because anything could change at any time. But he's pretty sensible. He basically mines it up to a point and then skims off the top, and then pays his mum the electric bill. So.
That's awesome, isn't it? Like, hindsight's great when you're looking back going, why didn't I do that?
God, why didn't I do that? But, he was fascinated by how the whole system worked. And that his brain liked this public ledger of trading, and he just found the whole blockchain system working. Really, really interesting. And that's put him in a good stead to understand how the NFTs can work and those kind of things. So, when it comes to him going to do his degree, he's already going to have a massive amount of experience in that area just because he had that freedom to tinker and he had the Creative Computing Club to kind of bounce ideas off of. So when he goes to university, he's just going to write his papers and cash in all his Bitcoin.
That's brilliant. What do you think it is about tech and development that sees people fall into it? Is it, do you think it's problem solving, more exploration of how things work? What
people who use tech are naturally inquisitive. They want to make things. They want to create things. They want to explore the world. Sometimes that exploring the world is just sitting there in front of you. But it's everybody. I think it's built into everybody. Everybody at some level wants to explore the world in some way, shape, or form. And tech allows you to do that. It allows you to create entire worlds. In fact, the metaverse is coming up, and oh boy. But that actually helps so many people to create these artificial worlds. And we work with a lot of SEN kids, special educational needs students, and actually things like Minecraft and being able to create worlds that they can control actually helps their anxiety so much. It helps calm them down. It helps them give them a safe space where they can build stuff, create stuff. And it's technology that's allowed them to do that. Prior to that, we had Lego, Lego is awesome. I love Lego, but I love the fact that these digital experiences can be experienced by multiple people at the same time around the world. You can't play with Lego with people somewhere else, but you can play with Minecraft. And I think, people are naturally inquisitive. They're naturally curious, and the amount of problems we can solve, through technology is amazing. But we always have to be, aware that, what's the other side of this? What's the flip side of this coin? Is there going to be a danger from using this? Is there going to be a problem that evolves from using this? I don't think anybody could have ever envisaged just how much of an impact social media would have on the world. And I think we always need to almost put new technology in a sandbox and kind of poke at it for a while and see, well, what could this be used for? Run a hack day on it. Get some new technology, run a hack day on it. What could this be used for good? What could this be used for bad? Is this going to benefit me, my family, my company? And then, decide to invest in it. Do a real kind of analysis of it. If you don't think it's going to benefit you, just stay away from it. It's like, just, there's a lot of social media platforms I just don't go on because I just don't get it.
True.
And I can't keep up. So I think we had a Creative Computing Club TikTok for a week, and then we decided no, we don't want to compete with that, and we don't want to drag our kids onto TikTok to see our content. So we're just going to leave it. We're gonna, that was our experiment. We did like one video, and we thought no.
Not every platform is right for everyone.
Yeah,
I think. You do see trends, and the big one in the last couple of years was like Clubhouse.
Yeah.
But I don't know what even happened to that now, and that seems to have. It's a great concept, but then all the big guys start to build the features into their apps, and before you know it, it's sort of phased out.
I got loads of invites. I just ignored them. I just thought I've got if it's business stuff, I go on LinkedIn. That works. If it's in social media, I've got Facebook and Twitter. That's fine. That's all I need. I don't need to go anywhere else with that. Yeah.
Do you looking forward? What sort of trends do you think are coming up? Like, we're talking about social media, where 15 years ago there wasn't really much around that, and that's spiraled, catapulted. Games not going anywhere, but then. You've got these whole other avenues that you were talking about, like cybersecurity, hacking, ethical hacking, as well as.
Well, I think one of the biggest and exciting and terrifying things is probably AI.
Okay.
Yeah, AI is we're very lucky at Computing Club. We've got access to Elon Musk's OpenAI Codex, which is terrifying, and I had to reevaluate what I was going to teach the kids in the future, because you can just type in a description of what you want it to code, and this system, this AI, knows Python. It knows quite a few languages, and you can select which language you want it to code in. And you say, like my son, he said, build me a video game where my dad's head is a spaceship, and if I press the space bar, it shoots a laser out of his eyes. Sure enough, it coded it right in front of him. And I was like, okay, on the timeline of things to do with AI, that should be in about 125 years. Our jobs should be safe, and I think they still are safe quite for some time, because it's not 100% accurate what it builds. Right. But this was trained on all of GitHub, so all of the good code, all of the bad code, it knows it all. It knows all the experiments that people have tinkered with and put online. It draws those all in, and it can build you stuff really quickly, and it can do it for web development as well. And when you say, can you build me a website about Matthew Applegate? It can build you a basic template for a website. Can you link in all the social media connections to that website, load in all the widgets? Because there's tons of stuff on GitHub about how to embed widgets on your page. It will just draw them in. And it'll build you, it's not a good looking website. Yeah. It works. It looks like it's from AOL or kind of days, but it works. And if you had somebody with a bit of heart, a bit of soul to add a good design to it, you could bring it to life. So it could build all the technical aspects, but how long is it until it can mimic those creative aspects? I don't know, because AI is already mimicking us in terms of making music. I don't know if you heard like Amy Winehouse being done by an AI. That's terrifying. It sounds like her. It has this. It analyzed all of her chord progressions that she often uses, all of her kind of melodic style, and it made songs that sound like her. So how long it will take depends on how many people ask it to do creative things. I think that's quite interesting in terms of where we're heading with tech. Is what will AI do? But when I saw it, I was not worried about my job, but I was worried about, am I teaching the young people the right things to go forward and progress? And so we're in very, very soon, we're going to start teaching them how to interact with AI, how to use this as a tool. Because once OpenAI decided to release it to the whole world, all of the stuff that they've got, it's going to change the landscape. You know, small companies will benefit the most from it because they'll be able to get it to do so many things that they didn't even know they realize they could do for their business. Mid-sized companies will benefit a lot faster because they'll have somebody in their team to be able to kind of say, you go look at that and you do what you find out about that and you put some energy into that and it will help your company grow. I think that's what they're terrified about. But we know it's trained on all of GitHub, but we don't know where all the other data is from. There's something else in there, and it's very, very interesting. What it can do is ask it for recipes for different hidden kind of food, and it might be able to tell you. You never know. Yeah. So
I guess the scary thing is that once you've got the basics and you've got it doing, it's quite easy to then improve it and then make that step change. So the speed at which, once you've got that initial concept, you can actually then make it better, make it perform better. That makes me worry about my job.
Well, I think it's going to show people, like if you say add a picture, it'll add the picture and it will show you the code. So people will learn from seeing it do that, oh, okay, that code is for the picture. But again, the websites are interesting, but they're nowhere near a commercial grade kind of design. They have no soul. They have no. They're not interesting to use. They're just functional. When they start doing creative decision making, or you can load in templates and then it kind of adjusts to that, I think that's going to be really fascinating. And it's an AI. It learns.
Yeah.
It's constant. Every time somebody uses it, it learns. And it's kind of understanding gets bigger and bigger, and it's just fascinating to mess around with. We're only using it for funny stuff at the moment.
Yeah,
we're getting it to make memes and stuff. But when we start asking it serious questions, I think that's going to be really, really fascinating. Just what it can do. But I think web development might have about 5 years left.
Really?
Yeah, web development, not web design. I think web design might have a bit longer because you have to have that artistic, creative vision, and you have to be able to listen to a client. Because if you think about this, you have to tell it exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Now think about clients.
Yeah.
You have to tell it exactly what you want, and then it will go and do that. And so you want to have a human there to kind of interface with it and work it through with the client. Yeah, definitely. You're always going to need that.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. I remember previously there's companies that came about to try and create, they weren't using AI, but it was like, we'll generate a website based on your tastes and you give it some information, and no one ever nailed it. No one could get it right because of that creative aspect.
Yeah.
Especially in what we do as well, where it's very much brand and marketing driven.
Yeah.
Can it learn a brand? I don't know. Give it a few years.
It's scary, but it's interesting, and I think that's the thing that I look forward to, and that's the exciting thing about tech. We don't know where it's going, and we can just hope to be involved in the journey.